Hey there, it's Derek from Pacific Coast Auto here in Japan, and we're looking at a Suzuki Jimny Sierra, also kind of known as the Suzuki Samurai. This generation of the Jimny was never sold in Canada. This one here, bought from auction, exported to Canada, and the Samurai, which was the Canadian name for the Jimny, I guess ended in like early 90s, like 93 or 94. And this is a generation that we didn't get. And so it's a little K car. Actually, this one's not a K car, but typically they are K cars, which means 660cc, yellow license plates, and cheap registration here in Japan. Ooh, a solid front axle. Nice. But this one here has the 1.3 liter twin cam engine in it with wide fender flares on it. And so it doesn't qualify as a K car anymore. You get a little bit more power than the K car one, but for it you have to pay higher registration fees. Now, outside of Japan, this is the one I would recommend because you get a more powerful engine, which is always good. And then you pay a lot less for these because in Japan, the K car versions cost less to register. And so therefore they cost more to buy. So I don't know an awful lot about the 1.3 liter engine in these. It looks like probably very similar to what you would get in a Suzuki Swift, which seems to be a reliable engine with pretty good power curve. I don't really know if this is any different. I would think a little 4x4 would have different, maybe a different profile in the engine, maybe more low down torque. But probably a pretty good engine for this. The coolant and the oil both look to be pretty normal, no issues with those. And mechanically the car looks to be pretty sound. It does have really low mileage though. 58,000 kilometers for 2004 is very nice and low. Just give you a quick look at it. And the car's really dirty right now because it's pollen season and it's cherry blossoms in Japan. And so it tends to cover the cars and well, not the cherry blossoms, but just the general season tends to make the cars really dirty. I'll translate this for you. I'll go around the vehicle. And yeah, this one was bought from the auction on the buyer's request. A little bit of a crack on the plastic there. And this is the post-purchase inspection. You can get Jimnys usually from anywhere from like $1,000 to $2,000 or so. Older ones tend to be a little bit more expensive if you're importing them to the USA under the 25-year rule, but Canada has the 15-year rule. And maybe the newer ones are a little bit more expensive. I don't really know. I don't watch Jimny prices that much. I would say if it's US legal, it's the most expensive. And then if it's just barely 15 years old like this, it's probably a little bit more expensive than any of the ones that are a little bit older, but not old enough to be US legal. Anyways, this one's automatic transmission, but you can find lots of them with manuals. It has a rear mount tire. It has roof racks. And it has fog lamps, but the fog lamps are oddly cloudy. Let's see. Looking at the body here, it's in quite good condition, only very mild scratches in a few places, so much that you could just polish those out. And then an A2 on the front is a medium-sized scratch, but that is right underneath where the license plate goes. So here's the scratch, comes from the license plate, scratching up against it, but the license plate goes here, so you wouldn't be able to see that scratch anywhere once you put a plate on it. Okay, so the interior is slightly dirty and small scratches, various small scratches, small dents, and some non-glossy paint, which you can kind of see. It is a bit glossy, not super glossy. And so, give it a nice polish and wax, and it should bring it up, no problem. So, underside has surface rust, and I'll give you a quick little peek. Usually I don't. I take pictures. So that all looks to be pretty good. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about with the underside surface rust. And not like the Canadian spec versions of these, they're not leaf spring suspension, it's coil spring suspension. Rear mount tire cover has a seam that's pulled out. I'll show you that in a second. And the left side electric folding door mirror doesn't work. So this one, there's a button to fold these, and then this one doesn't work. Yeah. Okay. So we'll do a once around now. Yeah, I quite like the looks of these. You get nice approach angle and departure angle for your off-roading. Really, these are meant for being an off-road vehicle more than they are a road vehicle. And these ones are probably a little bit more, not probably, these will certainly be more comfortable than the older leaf spring versions. The chassis also seems to be a little bit stiffer on this. You get less squeaks and rattles in it than the earlier ones. And it seems like you get more room inside, even though the footprint of the vehicle is pretty much exactly the same. And that is to say, really small. So in Canada, something like this is going to be very weird. It's people are going to look at you and say, wow, you've got a weird vehicle. Where did you get that from? And then anytime that you go get gas, which for this car probably wouldn't be very often, it's going to end up taking longer because everybody's going to want to talk to you. You get a little mirror here on the front. And this little mirror helps you see how far you are away from the side here for when you're parallel parking. Very handy. Okay, so onto the interior. There's really no damage on the exterior, so there's not much that we can talk about. So to the interior, it is a standard rear-wheel drive with four-wheel drive, high range and low range. And so will be very capable, even with the stock tires like this. These don't look like knobbly 4x4 tires, but we can get up that section into the lot, which is a lot harder than it looks. There's loose gravel there, and we didn't slide the tires at all, which can't be said for most vehicles that we put up there. So more legroom in this than in any of the previous ones, and even for tall people, I would say you shouldn't have a problem. I'd say up to 6'4" can probably comfortably drive in one of these. I'm 5'10", so no issue at all. Back seats is another matter altogether though, because you don't get an awful lot of room in the back. Power steering on it. Fog lights. Let's turn those on to see what they look like. There's the folding mirror, only on the one side. Symbol gauges, low mileage, 57,000. Everything's just in pretty much immaculate condition in here. And it kind of feels like a new car. Automatic transmission. Here it's in low gear range. I drove it up there in 4 high, but you also have a 4 low as well. E-brake works. Floor mats are cool, if you can call that cool. And we got a Japanese Navi System. Looks like a nice unit, but it also looks like it's more than 10 years old. And then mini disc / CD player. And here's one that I've never seen, is you can put a CD or an MD into the same slot. Kind of weird. Never been smoked in. Dashboard in good condition with no glue marks on it anywhere. Okay. Going into the rear section. Easier to get in there from the passenger side. And because of the big doors, it makes it really easy to get into the rear. So pull this, it slides way up, and then super simple. Get your butt into the car. It's not terribly bad. It's doable. Headliner is, I don't know, 2 inches above my head. Okay, now how to get out. It has the kick style. A little space to put your things, including a beverage. Okay. And this person can have a beverage too, and these windows don't open. Okay. Into the back. And the back has something weird that I've never seen before. And so I don't really understand. Here's the ripped cover. Jimny Sierra. So this opens nice and wide, but it's sideways opening, so it kind of limits how wide of something that you can put in, because the door gets a bit in the way. That said, you have full headroom here when you're putting stuff in, which is also helpful to have, and so it's actually the same as the Prado over there. This is a super mini Prado, like a exact half size. Actually, maybe not. It's probably 2/3 size. So these seats fold forward, and then I don't know what this is. I don't know. It has this and this, and I guess it's for having a flatter surface, and I think that the bottom cushion pops out. Let me just check that. Yeah, it does. So the way that you actually fold them down is pop that out, then you'd have to take the headrest off and then put this down. And I think that the idea of this piece is to make it so it's a complete flat area in the back. And without it, it would be sloped slightly. So I think that's what it is, but I don't know for certain. Put this up, and I think you get more room in the back here than in the other Jimneys, but it's not a lot. The other, as in the older ones. And then Suzuki just made a new Jimny, which is really cool and more classic looking than this one, but I like. Oh, there we have the fog lights on. Okay, so there it is, the Jimny Sierra with a 1.3 liter engine. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just a quick note, we're not accepting emails for the next 3 weeks or so because of how busy we are, but if you want to email us after April 25th, 2019. So thanks a lot for watching, and have a nice day.